in Family Guy. Season 22, Episode 6, titled Boston Stewie, we start with the ever-curious baby genius, Stewie Griffin, going about his usual mischievous routine when he stumbles upon an unexpected find. Digging through some old papers, he uncovers a shocking letter from the Fertility Bank of New England.
Fertility Bank of New England. Oh, this one I've got to see. Dear Lois Pewterschmidt, thank you again for your compensated donation of 10 eggs in 1997. This letter is to inform you that the 9 remaining eggs have been destroyed for lack of interest.
Turns out, Lois donated 10 eggs in her younger days, and one of those eggs may have produced a sibling for Stewie. Our sophisticated British-accented baby is thrilled by the prospect of having a long-lost brother or sister. With that trademark sparkle of genius and madness in his eye, Stewie heads straight for a DNA testing kit, determined to track down this mysterious sibling. After what must have been some serious stealth Googling, he finds a DNA match in Boston. And so, Stewie sets out on an epic journey to the city of clam chowder, the Red Sox, and Harvard intellects, in search of the other half of his genetic equation. And who better to accompany him on this trek to Boston than his trusty, sarcastic sidekick, Brian the dog? Upon arrival in Boston, Stewie eagerly anticipates meeting someone as sophisticated and cultured as himself, maybe even with a British accent and a love for all things evil. But instead, he meets a local kid with a thick Boston accent, an undeniable love for the Celtics, and a pretty wild personality.
So you and me got some of the same DNA on account of your mom sold off her inside parts? Dude, that's bizarre.
This Boston Stewie, let's call him B-Stew, is nothing like the version Stewie had cooked up in his head. However, the two Stewies are an odd match made in heaven. While B-Stew doesn't have Stewie's plotting genius, he's got an instinct for stirring up trouble that quickly appeals to our tiny tyrant. Peter, Lois, Meg, and Chris aren't exactly spending their time idly. Meg has been busy baking cupcakes for a school project when Chris, in typical Chris fashion, accidentally sits on them. But rather than apologizing, Chris's sitting skills inspire Meg to post a video of it online, and it goes viral. Before you know it, Peter sees an opportunity here, doesn't he always? And proposes that they launch a fans-only page for Chris, where he'll sit on all sorts of things for their audience's amusement. Much to everyone's surprise, Chris becomes a local celebrity. People even start recognizing him at the grocery store as that guy who squashes things. But after a while, Chris begins to feel uncomfortable with his newfound fame and questions whether this is really the legacy he wants to leave behind. Back in Boston, Stewie starts to notice that B-Stew, though fun and wild, isn't entirely happy. B-Stew admits he wants to find a family, a real home, and to be adopted. But he's convinced that no one would want to adopt a kid who's as rough around the edges as he is. Stewie, in his own weird, supportive way, decides he's going to help his Bostonian brother get adopted by making him appear as normal as possible. This effort leads to a montage of Stewie trying to teach B-Stew manners, etiquette, and even some light chess, which B-Stew hates. After several failed attempts to polish B-Stew's rough personality, Stewie realizes his brother is best as he is, quirks and all. They share a heartfelt moment, and Stewie understands that family is about acceptance, even if that family member is nothing like what you expected. In a surprising turn of events, Stewie's efforts actually work. B-Stew is adopted by a group of friendly local women who take a liking to his rough charm. Stewie bids his brother farewell, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction and, maybe for the first time, a twinge of family loyalty. Now back in Quahog, the Griffin family is dealing with the aftermath of Chris's fans-only fame. Chris has decided he's done with sitting on random objects for cash, and though Peter initially fights him on it, they eventually move on. Lois is glad to have the house back to normal. Well, as normal as things can be in the Griffin household. With Stewie's adventure complete and the rest of the Griffins settling back into their usual chaos, the episode ends on a classic Family Guy note, reminding us that while the Griffins might be dysfunctional, they're still family, and they wouldn't have it any other way. And that wraps up the chaotic, heartwarming, and hilariously Boston-themed journey of Stewie Griffin.